Hello, faithful listeners. My name's Clay Thompson, and I'll be your guide once again in the Fiction Room. Today's prompt is brought to us from username XHF. Microsoft Water, Google Earth, Amazon Fire, Apple Air. Long ago, the four corporations lived together in harmony. Then, everything changed when Amazon attacked store-based retailers. Only the Avatar, master of all four elements, could stop them. But when the world needed him most, he vanished. Now, I gotta say that I've been really looking forward to this prompt, and I'm very happy to be reading it. And as always, I hope you enjoy hearing these stories as much as I enjoy reading them. But without further ado, let's begin with our first story, written by Nick of Night. Richard dragged himself up onto the ledge, his boots scrambling against chalky rock. A plume of white rubble careened down the side of the mountain, glistening in the evening sun. With one last Herculean effort, he pulled his legs up over the edge, peeled off his rucksack, and collapsed onto his back. For a while, he just lay there, sucking in long, labored lungfuls of air. He wasn't as young as he used to be, and right now, he felt every year in his aching joints. "Sir," said the black device strapped around his chest, the lights on its circular plate flashing an unsympathetic red. "We have to get moving if we are to make it before nightfall."
"Come on, Lexi. Give me 5 minutes,"
said Richard, as he sat upright and took in the vista. The Serbian mountains in front of him were like the jagged teeth of a saw, their tips covered in a white rust. Below, a vast sapphire oval reflected the peaks looming above it. Water, not owned by a corporation, not owned by any man, just like the cold, unregulated air up here. How did people ever take air for granted? For a fleeting moment, his thoughts traveled back to England. He would never imagine the day when a corporation would be able to buy an entire country. "Sir," Lexi said, "you can't set an important reminder and then just expect me to forget all about it. What do you think I am, Siri?" The voice sounded vaguely disgusted.
"Lexi, just stop. Look, I'm getting up, okay?"
"I'm pleased to see it." Her lights calmed to blue. With a great heave, Richard picked himself up and hooked his rucksack over his shoulders. He could feel its reluctance in his aching spine. He looked up at the imposing mountain above him and let out a puff of air. "Your heart rate is back to normal, at least for a man of your age." Richard raised his eyebrows.
"Well, that's a relief, I suppose."
"You will be fine, sir. Now, 1 foot at a time." It wasn't the tallest mountain in the region, but its peak was one of the more inaccessible. The village on the plateau at the top consisted only of a dozen or so wooden huts. Well, shacks, really. Their planked walls ran deep beneath the snow that blanketed the ground. The first man that saw him had a thin face, dark hair, and wore a rather frustrated expression.
"Hello!"
panted Richard, waving a hand.
"I say, hello!"
The man looked around him, presumably to see if any of his friends were about to help. They weren't. He clicked his tongue and approached. Richard ran a hand through his long silver hair, pushing it back over his shoulders.
"Hello! My name is Richard."
"I know who you are. I knew you would come," said the man. "It did not matter where we took her. You would have found a way, wouldn't you?"
"You know why I'm here?"
"Yes, of course. For Mina, Nicola's grandchild." Lexi lit an excited orange. "So she's here?" The man stepped back, his face aghast.
"What is that?" "Her name is Lexi. She's quite harmless, I assure you." "No, that thing is part of the Fire Corporation. It is not welcome here."
I am a she," said Lexi, flashing an indignant purple.
"She's been unlocked," added Richard. "Set free from the Fire Corporation."
"How do we know we can trust?
that it does not broadcast this information to Fire.
You have my word. That should be enough. Now please, I have not slept in 3 days in order to get here before it's too late. Let me talk to the child. If she does not want to come with me, then I'll leave today. But please, I need to see her.
Your word is not good enough. I am sorry.
He clicked his tongue twice. There was a loud buzzing sound that emanated from somewhere behind Richard. He turned to see a swarm of brown insects hurtling towards him. Locust? No, dragonflies.
You should not have come, Mr. Branson.
The creatures rapidly engulfed Richard. He swatted them back the best he could, and a handful fell to the ground, but many more were left in the air. He felt their teeth ripping into the flesh of his arms, and felt the warmth of his blood as it ran down them.
Richard!
Screamed Lexi. She turned bright red as she pumped out a supersonic frequency at full volume, hoping to disrupt the dragonflies. They didn't even seem to notice.
Please!
Screamed Richard.
I'm trying to save us all! Us all? You cannot even save yourself.
Enough! Came a voice, a new voice, high and confident, that cut through even the buzzing of the swarm. The cloud of dragonflies suddenly lifted from Richard and dispersed into the air.
I am sorry, Mr. Branson. My papa is very protective over me.
The girl glared at her father, who almost cowered in shame.
I am sorry, my darling.
Not now, papa. We will talk of it later.
Richard's arms were bleeding, but in that moment he didn't feel the pain. He was too intrigued by what he saw on the ground. He picked up one of the wooden clockwork dragonflies and held it between his forefinger and thumb. Then he looked at the dark-haired girl standing by her father.
Mina, you made these?
He said.
Incredible. Just incredible. No electricity at all.
Mina smiled proudly.
Come, Mr. Branson. My people will see to your wounds. Then we will talk over dinner.
Okay, so this is playing out almost exactly like a Netflix adaptation of Avatar, except that everything's modern day, and there are corporations instead of kingdoms and countries, and everything just flows so well. I can see it clearly in my head, and the only complaint that I have about it is that it ended so soon. I would love to see more of this. But for now, let's move on to our second story, written by Dragon of the Sun. They had come for Apple first. Few chose the Apple way of life, but those who did always seemed to have an air of peace and tranquility. Their isolation from the other corporations allowed them to live their lives without worry about which product was better, which product would be compatible with what, or even what features would be in their latest products. Apple is best. Apple will set you free. Apple is all there is. These were their mottos. It only made sense that they would be annihilated first. The Amazons timed their attack perfectly. Black Friday. Not just the day where everyone was making use of the great deals on Amazon.com, but also the day where the Apple users were hurriedly rushing out to buy the latest Apple tech. When they were at their weakest, Amazon struck. When they were at their weakest, Amazon killed. Some Apple users tried to escape the massacre by running to the protection of the Google Earth Kingdom. Amazon knew this would happen and had already put up ads advertising iPads for 70% off. The survivors never stood a chance. In just one day, every Apple user had been vanquished. iPads became Kindles, iPhones became Fire phones, and saying hey to Siri was futile because Alexa was the only one listening. The other corporations were in shock. The great Avatar had always maintained the balance between the four corporations, and yet now he was nowhere to be found. Knowing that there was no chance for peace, Microsoft and Google prepared for war. Like I said before, it just works so well. This one was also very well done, but it also made me sad because I myself am an Apple user and they were the first ones to go, so Big oof on that. Way to appeal to the story by killing off my choice. But for now, dear listeners, we must unfortunately bid you farewell once again. Thank you all so much for tuning into the Fiction Room. If you enjoyed today's stories, please consider liking, sharing, and subscribing. It would very much help us. And wherever you are in the world, be safe, be well, and we'll see all of you next time.